Hey, all my Libra friends, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today with your April 2024 monthly horoscope. These horoscopes are based on whole sign Western astrology. So when I'm talking about Libra, I'm talking about Libra rising. This is going to indicate the structure of the natal chart or of the wheel. Libra rising being the first house. This is also applicable to Libra moon, Libra sun. And if you have 3 or more planets, personal planets in the sign of Libra, this video is also applicable to you. When I refer to a time and a day, it's in the Pacific time zone. So if you are not in the Pacific, please adjust for your location. This is a really strong, influential period of time, this early part of 2024. Libra has just experienced at the end of March on the 25th, a full moon lunar eclipse at 5 degrees of Libra. I believe it was 5 degrees of Libra on the supergalactic center. That eclipse was ushering in some point of awareness, some illumination in your partnerships, in the even flow and exchange of energy in your 7th house energy. I say that because Libra is traditionally the sign of partnerships. And with this full moon lunar eclipse, there was going to be some sort of epiphany about how you express the individual within the partnership. I bring this up because we see Mercury starting a retrograde at the very beginning of April, going through the sign of Aries, which is your 7th house, which is also the sign of the self. So it's when the wheel is flipped, we're looking at Libra as an individual coming into her partnerships with passion and a sense of entrepreneurship and a sense of bravery to express herself rather than giving up her power to the partnership and feeling as if her voice isn't quite as loud there. This is a very powerful time because we're going to have an eclipse. I'm going to talk about it in a minute on the 8th. We're also experiencing this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. Everybody's been talking about it. It is in your 8th house. The 8th house is a very powerful house of transformation, of intimacy, and how money and sex can control us through either fear or we can be the controller. And we don't even realize it because there's a strong sense of dominance in the 8th house. But let me go back to this Mercury retrograde because part of this starts at the 27th degree, which is the Gemini degree of I think, I speak, I learn. And it's going to go all the way back to the 15th degree, which is also a Gemini degree. So a lot of this retrograde is going to be about the I am and I think. And what do I want? As it retrogrades over Chiron, we see Chiron right now is at the 19th degree, which is the Libra degree. There could potentially be thoughts of how can I create balance within my wound? How can I transform? Chiron is traditionally the wound that the soul brings into the earthly experience to so that this earthly experience can present opportunities to make choices and to reconcile the wound versus trying to release it. I don't think that's possible because if you could release things, why would we have multiple lives to get over things? Anyway, I digress. Then we're going to see Mercury come up on this north node, which is a ravenous point, a point that I haven't experienced, that soul hasn't, and it really wants to. So between the 1st of April and the 25th of April, this is a very strong dynamic and theme of the Mercury retrograde. We will see Venus coming into play and the sun, but these, at the same time, these are holding station to be contemplated, to be reviewed, to be analyzed, to be for a point of awareness, not to try to figure out why it happened or to erase anything that might have happened, but to point your nose in the direction of your true wants and desires. And the South Node going through your 1st house is really calling forth an awareness that in order for you to birth that sense of entrepreneurship, of individuality, your passions, your desires, you might have to be a little bit egoless to the opinions of your partners, of those that you care about and love in that moment, so that they can experience your transformation. That's your 8th house up here. And in doing so, anchoring in a new experience. Let's just click on Mercury real quick. And we see Mercury at this moment is making a square to Aquarius. And Aquarius is your 5th house of, it's another house of self. It's a house of enjoyment. It's a house of entertainment. It's a house of the performer, the child. It very much rules the high school and early romance, young love. Even when you're in later chapters of life, the infusion of that new romance is very much depicted in the 5th house. Now, Pluto rules normally Scorpio, and it rules transformation. Traditionally, the keywords are death and rebirth. As it's moving into your 5th house, this is giving you an opportunity to express yourself, your individuality. Aquarius is unique and futuristic and scientific, and it's very reaches for the stars. You could be interested in astrology, you could be interested in science, you could be interested in aviation, you could be interested in electrical sciences in some way, lightning and how that transforms into glass when it hits sand. I don't know why I'm using that as an example, but it's a house riddled with, the 5th house is riddled with fun stuff, and Aquarius gives you the energy to birth that in a way that may not be seen, have ever been seen by others before. Okay, now we see that this Pluto energy, this offering of a renewal, is almost arguing with Mercury in some way. And this could be your mind saying, I don't know, I don't know if I should stretch. I don't know if I should put myself in an unsafe place, because, traditionally the partnerships in my life, like when I think of partnerships, I don't just think of marriage. I think of the people that we interact with on a daily basis that have an effect on our lives. Our employers very much, even though there may not always be a written contract, there is a contract within the dynamic. So you're going to be thinking about your everyday life. You may be thinking about your children, your childhood, and reviewing that, and really sort of feeling I almost want to use the word agony as you're trying to transform yourself into a new dynamic that represents where you have evolved into. And we see Mercury making this half square to Saturn. Saturn rules history. Saturn rules the things that have come before us, tradition. And here in Pisces, we're kind of getting a double whammy, because Pisces also rules an ancestral dynamic, but it's a soul's ancestral dynamic. So what we're looking at here is a little bit of a tug of war between your mind and what you want and where you've been and those around you. Now, let's go into, we're going to go from here to April 5th, where we're going to see your ruling planet, Venus, move into Aries. And Aries is your 7th house. So here is Venus's natural home is the 7th house, but the Aries energy is very different here. Now, I've been interpreting Aries, Venus and Aries in an interesting way lately, because when astrology was, developing and growing throughout the ages, Venus very much rules the feminine, which is considered a demure energy, a more genteel energy, a receptive energy. But as we have evolved as humans, we see that women are blossoming into their own co-creators and being much more assertive in their lives. And this is where Venus has been considered in detriment when she's in Aries. She's been considered, it's not a good energy for her, because it's too fiery, it's too warlike, it's too masculine for her. But in these modern times, I think that's a shift now. I think this is where we see, a type of, we could see a Taylor Swift energy here. We could see a Oprah Winfrey energy here. Any strong, powerful woman this is now being celebrated. So as Venus moves into your 7th house, her natural home, she's going to be reevaluating how she asserts herself. And she's going to be doing it as a result of a conversation she had with Neptune. Not only is Neptune spiritual, it is very artistic. And so is Venus. So here we're looking at a bigger picture. Venus has already had a conversation in March with Saturn about creating structure within what she wants and desires. And now this is where she's going to start to assert herself. And at the same time, this is supported by the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction that's growing very tight right now. Uranus rules liberation. It also rules, as I said earlier, the same things as Aquarius, innovation, futuristic things. Jupiter rules expansion. It rules business. It rules commerce. It rules publishing, marketing, influencing. All this is in your 8th house of transformation. So you have an opportunity for something to be birthed in a way that could even liberate you from any restraints you may have felt from your interpersonal relationships. That's kind of what I want to put it. When we talk about detriment, one of the things about that is that it's the planet is stretching to express herself. And this is where Venus is fighting with herself about wanting to be cooperative and wanting to be intentional. And in the conversation with Neptune, she is being coached about what divine disruption does for balance and to actually create harmony. Divine disruption is sometimes where I'm holding a line that others don't understand, and yet as they experience the transformation, they will understand. We can see this. Saturn is making a quincunx to the south node. So somewhere on this day, your first house being lit up by the history of what you have experienced. It's funny because when I say history, I don't know that I think it's actually the history of this lifetime as much as it's starting to feel like a historic history of your soul. And even though you don't have maybe the details of it, the broad emotional dynamic is sort of sitting behind you, urging you into a transformative energy. Okay. Let's go on to the 8th, where we're going to experience the second eclipse of the season. And again, this is very powerful because it is literally you're going to be, Libra and Aries are on the eclipse axis for the next year or so. I didn't write the dates down. And this is important because they normally say it brings in fated events, but I like to frame it as fated choices. Experiences come in, and I'm sitting at this fork in the road going, do I bet on myself or do I default to where I've been? So when we talk about a new moon solar eclipse, let me get there. We're talking about planting the seeds for something new. This is in the sign of Aries, so it's going to be in your 7th house. It's happening at 11:20 a.m. on April 8th. And the thing that I think is so interesting, I can't help but find detail within the degrees. So as Mercury started its retrograde at 27 degrees and is going to go this direction to the North Node at 15 degrees, it's very much, I think, an awareness of what I think. Now, on the day of the eclipse, we see the sun and the moon coming together at 19 degrees of Libra. That's the Libra degree in the sign of Aries. So the sun and the moon are coming together to create something new that can foster the reward rather than the wound that Chiron has to offer. Chiron is the asteroid that represents a soul's chronic wound and an opportunity to transform. We see this solar eclipse, fated event, and choice all together combined. And this influence can go up to 6 months, but because of the conjunction growing over here in your 8th house and Jupiter also at 19 degrees, I believe that this is setting a new vibration for a whole new chapter, maybe a whole new end game in the way you think and you operate. At the same time, we're having this eclipse, which is the darkest phase of the moon, where the most faith is required. We see Saturn and Mars in a sign that is a very spiritual, faithful sign. And here, most people think Mars is not powerful in Pisces, and unconscious Mars may not be. And Saturn isn't considered very strong in Pisces, but conscious Saturn understands that I'm sitting here with an opportunity to exercise the peaceful warrior, the spiritual warrior, the one that knows on an intuitive level to take my time and to plan strategically. And then my bravery will help me to take the action that is inspired, that may not seem obvious to the outside world. So this is all very powerful. And at the same time, it's fighting in some ways with your natural habits and how you might feel in making cooperative decisions. So this is a very powerful opportunity to create a platform for spirit to start to inspire you into actions that then support the emotional and mental version of where you'd like to go and what you'd like to experience on Earth. We're going to see Pluto hanging out in this sign of Aquarius for 20 years, but this particular year, it's still in this very early stages of Aquarius, and it's going to retrograde back into Capricorn later in the year. So whatever old structures, fears, anxieties, trepidations you have, they're going to be rewritten. And Capricorn is your 4th house, Libra. So this could have a lot to do with your childhood experience and how you filtered that, processed that, or even currently experiencing it. Again, Mercury rules our childhood, and we're going over some points to assess, revisit that, but not in a meaty way, in a way that's more rear view mirror versus windshield. I hope that made sense for you. Okay, let's go on to, I'm going to jump all the way to the 18th now, because the essential energies that are building are clustering. You can see them clustering in your 6th, 7th, and 8th house. So that is the whole month is themed with the idea of where in the 6th house are you enslaved to a certain thought or process that you've lived, or where is your health eroding, or you're not taking care of your physical body in some way. The 6th house is very much a health house, and it's mental health. It's like stress. It's worry and fretting and being concerned that things aren't being done right or perfect. Then we have this cluster of energy. We now see Venus and Mercury have on the 18th, they've come into alignment, into a conversation, into conjunction with the North Node and Chiron. And we see the first of 2 exact conjunctions between Jupiter and Uranus. And while the exact conjunction is powerful, the whole period of time is powerful. You know, this is just where the 2 planets are fused. And there could be on a world stage some pretty amazing things that you experience. They have nothing to do with you. It could be a day where we see something, I don't want to use the word traumatic, but it is your 8th house, could be potentially traumatic. We could see something unexpected happen in the stock market, you know, in the financial world. Jupiter rules wealth and expansion, and Uranus rules the unexpected. And for you, this is in the 8th house, and Taurus rules money as well. But my point for you as an individual is this is an opportunity for you to sort of kind of push the outside world aside. This would be the South Node in your 1st house, asking you to be egoless in this moment so that you can continue to really start to, I guess what I want to say is, we've just had this new moon solar eclipse. So this is now 10 days later where you're nurturing your mind, you're nurturing your self-confidence, you're giving yourself grace for the transformation and the new chapter that you're calling forth. Some of you, you know, may be turning 50 or around your 50s. Chiron usually, if you have Chiron in your natal chart, you'll see that you'll have a Chiron return, which will bring things up. This is a very powerful time for an awareness, and the awareness calls forth transformation, which then allows us to live more authentically on this earth plane. And I want to offer this too, because this period of time, let's say this week of the April 15th through maybe, let's say, the 20th, it could be a little bit longer. This could feel extremely powerful. Exasperation, maybe an awareness of my wound, a review of it. People could even come back into your life that bring that topic up. And then here we have this Venus now really asking, how do I determine my self-worth? How do I use my skills? How do I perceive myself? And the North Node is ravenous for a new experience where the self is birthed, where the self gets to be applauded, where the self is celebrated. And when you're a sign that is strong with the power of we, the me you bring into it is extremely powerful. We will see on the next day, the sun will move into Taurus. And as the sun moves into Taurus, we're still experiencing this exactness in this degree here. So this is going to continue on. I think the powerful thing about this particular time is we're going to go into a full moon in Scorpio next week, meaning around the 23rd of April. So as the sun moves into Taurus, it brings an illumination. Once again, a larger, a brighter picture, and it's starting to illuminate how I want to use my skills here. We see that Saturn has a sextile. It's a loose sextile. Mars has a very tight sextile to Jupiter, Uranus conjunction. So there's an opportunity to really be brave in how you assert yourself, or even entering new territory. Let's say, just for the sake of a hypothetical, the sixth house is your house of health. And let's say you have been feeling a lot of mental health challenges. You've been feeling stressed. You may start a group meditation, or you may decide to cut out gluten or something like that. Taurus rules food. And here there's some sort of brave action that is going to be taken in the physical world that demonstrates a shift within you, or the shifts that you've been calling forth. That's the way it feels to me. Let's go to that full moon, which is on the 23rd. This is, we're out of eclipse season now, but we're still in a season of awareness, is the way I like to put it. I prefer that over the ascension, because I think an ascension sounds like a climb up Mount Everest. So when we see this full moon, it's at 4 degrees of Scorpio, and it is making, obviously, an opposition. The full moon is the brightest phase of the moon, where we see something clearer than we've ever seen it before. And where I was going is, we're seeing in this opposition a T-square to Pluto here in Aquarius. And who rules Aquarius? Uranus. Uranus is now, Jupiter's moved over Uranus, but Uranus is about to join Jupiter once again in a few days in an exact conjunction. This T-square is at the 4 degrees of, or the full moon is at 4 degrees of Scorpio, the Cancerian degree of home, hearth, nurturing, healing. And Scorpio is the deepest psychology. Pluto rules Scorpio. There is something happening in this full moon where you are going to experience something where you have this focal point on your transformation. And if for some reason, Libra, your fears have dominated your ability to move forward or paralyzed you in some way, Pluto is really kind of nudging you into this awareness so that you can feel a sense of renewal, and sometimes love is interruptive. And sometimes love says, no, I don't want to do that anymore, or I don't want to feel that way anymore, or I don't want to give that up anymore. So this could be a little bit not easy, but very, very rewarding on the backside of it. All right, let's go now to the 25th. Okay, so on the 25th, we're experiencing the second exact conjunction. Now, the thing about the exactness of it is fused. The energy is huge. It is literally like Siamese twins. So here we're seeing this real ravenous, wanting to be liberated, wanting to use my skills, my voice, my talents, my gifts to expand my world, to expand my experience, to expand my mind. We see this ravenous energy in Aries with the North Node and Mercury. Mercury's just turned direct, but it's going to take a while to ramp up, to move forward again with any speed. So here it's going to sit and have this conversation over again with the North Node, saying, I want to express me. And as that's being said, the natural pull of your habits is going to go, but what about so-and-so? And what about Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so, whoever your partner may be? So it's a really I can't quite, there's no words for me to actually describe how subliminally powerful this is. Like, people who don't even know astrology are going to feel these things in ways that upend their world sometimes. We also see Venus, your ruling planet, having a very strong conversation, and has been, with Eris. Eris is an individual. She's Mars's little sister. She's like, she stands up for what she believes in and for herself. So here she's been coaching Venus to continue on, because Venus is about to move into Taurus and enjoy her rulership, where she feels the most comfortable and where she will soon meet up with these two planets. And now we're talking a lot of money going on here. Jupiter's money, Venus's money, Taurus's money, 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 money. So resources is on the docket. There is a potential for really stretching yourself, or even at this moment, everything you've been doing up until now could actually take off like rockets in flight. The 28th is an interesting day, because we're going to see an exact conjunction between Mars and Neptune. And I think that most astrologers think that this would be a erosive energy, you know, that Mars would be very tasked to be powerful here. But I really believe that Mars is my ruling planet, so maybe I have a little bit of a prejudice here, but I think Mars is becoming a peaceful warrior. I think Mars is becoming more heroic than heinous or out of control. And here, I think Mars is really feeling its divinity. And as it's about to move into its rulership, its journey with Saturn to go over my history, to actually strategize versus to react, this feels very powerful, because it feels as if it's the be, do, have now. Mars knows that my being energy, my belief, my attitude, my disposition as I take my actions is so powerful in the manifestation at the end. And this is what this conjunction has to offer. And at the same time, this conjunction is happening, we see that this energy between Jupiter and Uranus is still very powerful. It's still very much in play, and will continue to be as they hover around each other for another month or so. And Venus is in the very last degree of Aries. She is about to move into her domicile. So let's look now. I'm going to jump to the 30th, because on the 30th, we see that now Mars has entered Aries. And on this day, Mars is on the world axis, which is the 0 degree of the cardinal signs: Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. So here, there's still this energy of this summit they've been having, and Mars is now really willing to change the world for itself. And here is Venus at 1 degree of Taurus, both in their rulership, in their most powerful energy. So as Mercury, the planet that rules our everyday activities, starts to move forward again, we're going to see a series of opportunities or inspirations or yearnings inside of you to move your story forward, to broaden it, to take the steps to really enjoy the me of Libra that she brings to the we of your partnerships. This is a super, super powerful time. And we also see that the Pluto right here, the moon is here now, but later on the day it'll change. So I'm not going to really address the moon, but Pluto is making a sextile to Mars as it's on this world axis. And I think that is powerful, because Pluto and Mars both rule Scorpio. So they do have a commonality. It's a little intense, and it can be a little aggressive, and it can be a little pushy on the negative side, but on the more aware side, it knows how to use its power for good instead of evil. That's kind of how I want to put it. We do see a little bit of a square here with Venus, because Venus is again having to sort of examine what she's willing to. It's sort of one of these things where every once in a while I use this phrase where sometimes in order to be the hero in my life, I have to be the villain in your life. This square between Venus and Libra could be very much that could be the theme. Well, villains are ruled by Pluto, and this independence of Aquarius could very much rub up against your personal history and the people and expectations they have of you. But as you soldier on in a way that you're using your divinity, your connection to spirit, to all that is, that your higher power, you'll find some very powerful things starting to show themselves to you. Okay, Libra, that is it for April 2024. Again, my name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer. And if you'd like to book a reading with me, my information is below in the description. I do both intuitive readings as well as astrology readings. And please like, subscribe, share the videos, and we'll see you in May, the merry, merry month of May. Enjoy April. Bye, everybody.